U.S. government, and that of the U.S. government, and that is the Kean University. So basically, it is an international school in China, of which English is the medium of instruction. So when I was trying to conceptualize this study, I had to consider three key players here. Okay, foremost will of course be my learners, because as you have said, I am leaning towards the student-centered approach, a departure from the traditional teacher-centered approach. So that's one. And then the other one, when I was trying to think of the study, I had to consider the other key player, which is the market industry. We are in the academe and we're producing graduates. So what kind of graduates are we going to produce in such a way we would be responsive to the demands and the needs of the market? So the kind of, or the branding of students that we're producing. So that's one. And now this time, we, the third key player here is that we are the instructors. We are the facilitators of learning. So I'm thinking about what could be an effective instructional strategy wherein I would be really able to create a learning environment which is really student-centered. And that's how I came up with the study wherein the second language learning motivation. Why? Because the learners here are Chinese. Okay? And basically, Chinese will only be speaking Chinese. Their exposure to the English language is very limited. It's not part of their curriculum. Only recently with the globalization, wherein the Ministry of Education in China considered incorporating the English language in their curriculum. So that's why I came up with second language learning motivation, and then followed up with a cooperative learning, because based on the readings that I've done, cooperative learning would be engaging our students. But then, when it comes to responding to the needs of the market industry, the market industry is demanding that we produce graduates who are critical thinkers, not just purely thinkers, but critical thinkers. So, here, okay. Where is it moving?
The mouse, move the mouse a little on top of it.
Okay, so my presentation outline will be a background on the purpose of the study, and then the conceptual framework, the methodology, the findings and discussion, conclusions, and recommendation. But for a background of this study, as I have said, it is an international university that is based in China, of which English is the medium of instruction, not only as in the English courses, but all courses are being taught in the English language. The student profile will be majority or dominantly Chinese, probably around 90%. And then English is as a second language for them. But it comes to our faculty profile, is highly diversified. We come from different continents, okay? And then the participants of my study, because later on, when I would like to expand the study, the scope of the study, I would like to do a comparative study wherein I would compare the critical thinking, the motivation of students who are enrolled in Chinese traditional universities. So here, okay, if you take a look at this is one of our classrooms, and you will see dominantly that these are Chinese students. Okay, so I'm asking the question, why are they enrolling in our university? What motivates them as ESL learners to acquire the second language of English? Now, who among you here are Italian speakers? Only one? Two? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I belong to that. I don't know anything about the language of Italian, but mind you, when I learned that my paper was accepted here, the first thing that popped up into my mind is, I think I should learn some Italian words. Okay, so what motivated me to learn some Italian words? So I'm going to use the model of Gardner, wherein he said something about learning SLA would stand for second language acquisition. Why are we motivated to learn the second language? So based on the socio-educational model of Gardner, motivation is being defined as something that will influence you in two dimensions. And what are these two dimensions? Integrative motivation. So in my case, I started to learn some Italian words because I wanted to interact with the locals. Okay. And at the same time, learn the culture. Like, for example, when I was eating pizza and what do you call this? Pasta the other day. I just wanted to say, how are we going to say excellent? How are we going to say thank you for the good meal? So it's because you want to relate and interact with the locals. So according to Gardner, that is what you call one dimension integrative motivation. We're very much familiar with the theory of motivation, which is intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. But when it comes to the second language acquisition, motivation is categorized into two: integrative, wherein you would like to be part or interact with the community or the target language, and then instrumental motivation, which is the external extrinsic. So here, okay, interpretive motivation is the desire for you to integrate and interact with the uh, local community. And then when it comes to external requirements, these would refer to the requirements coming from the external environment. And what are these? These could be in the form of 4 different layers of goals. What are these goals? These could be global goals. Like, for example, we know that English is a universal language. So there is that desire in you that you would like to learn the English language. Or then we have the country or the university goals. And then lastly, we have the family requirement. But then this model that I am adapting in this study is not only patterned after Gardner, but I also incorporated the model used by Dornier, where he said when it comes to integrative motivation, there is also the desire for you when it comes to the qualities that you would like to possess as a second language learner. And then according also to Dornier, that the learning situation is where we could be coming in, because as facilitators of learning, how are we going to create the learning situation in such a way that our learners will be stimulated to continue and be motivated in learning the second language? And that is why we have in the learning situation, this could be the teachers, this could be the class activities, and the cooperation with their peers. Okay, now, how did I come about with critical thinking? According to Piaget, language serves as a vehicle for articulating and molding human thinking. But as I have said earlier, what kind of thinking would we like that our students would develop? Not just purely thinking, but with critical thinkers. And according to this study, the essence of critical thinking would lie in thinking skills. And the research findings, according to Wang and Henderson, reveal that critical thinking (CT) can facilitate the acquisition of language learning and language proficiency. Further on, Fahim and Himog, I don't know how to pronounce this, is that there is a positive relationship between motivation and critical thinking of EFL students. So what is really critical thinking? I have opted to use the definition given by Cottrell, where it emphasizes two important things here. Critical thinking is a way of thinking, but it is based on evidence and reasoning. So here, it also follows the pattern on the report of Fascione in 1990, wherein he said that when it comes to critical thinking, it would involve two dimensions. Critical thinking will be one dimension is about cognitive process, and the other one is for critical thinking is the disposition. This will be their attitude towards the quest for thinking. So here are the different dimensions of which cognitive skill, like for example, interpretative analysis, inference, evaluation, explanation, and self-regulation, to measure cognitive skills. And then we have confidence, open mindset, fairness, and objectivity, skepticism, and systematicity for disposition. What is research telling us? Okay, so in this case, I would like to establish the purpose of this study, the relationship between second language learning motivation and critical thinking. But before that, we need to describe the level of motivation of our second language learners and as well to describe the level of critical thinking. Further on, now as facilitators of learning, as practitioners, we would like to find an instructional strategy wherein we are able to address the language proficiency and enhancing critical thinking. Studies also show that when you are going to combine cooperative learning and critical thinking, this would be the outcome. It would enhance students' overall learning experience and prepare them for future challenges, which we're trying to respond to the needs of the market industry. And then at the same time, in the field of education, it will lead to substantial educational advancements, which could be indicators of academic success. What does the study tell us? Okay, let's try to look at cooperative learning here. In cooperative learning, we create an environment that would encourage active participation. And here comes collaboration and critical analysis. Another study of Hammond in 2020 also said that in collaborative learning, the learners are actively examining, clarifying, and elaborating their ideas and collaboratively devise solutions. And then the study here from Fong et al. In 2016 very clearly indicated that group work students have better critical thinking skills than those studied in the conventional class pattern, which supported the previous studies way back in 2006 and 2002, where it says something like cooperative learning strategies can significantly sharpen students' critical thinking. So when it comes to cooperative learning, here are the key indicators, okay? According to Slavin in 1996, cooperative learning is an instructional strategy that allows students to collaborate with a small number of peers so that they will be able to accomplish a collective work goal. And in fact, cooperative learning promotes both academic engagement and a sense of community among students. Thereby, they develop their ability to think critically, evaluate information, and make informed decisions. So another purpose of the study is to determine the relationship between cooperative learning and critical thinking. Okay, so the methodology, basically this study is a quantitative study, okay, a descriptive one and a correlation, and it's a cross-sectional study design. When it comes to the sampling size, we have around 400 participants, 197 representing 49.25% coming from the Chinese traditional universities, and we have 203 participants coming from Sino-foreign universities. Now, the instrument being used here is a questionnaire, but it's a self-constructed questionnaire made up of 42 items, and then this was distributed online. And then since we had to create or construct our own questionnaire, it had to undergo reliability testing, where in Crovax Alpha reliability showed a 0.81, a 0.85, a 0.86 strong reliability alpha coefficient. So the questionnaire link was distributed online and posted on WeChat, which is equivalent to our social media here in the United States, like Facebook or what. But in China, what we use is the WeChat. Okay, now let's try to look at the findings of the study. Okay, so I'm coming up with a descriptive analysis and also a correlational analysis. So basically, when it comes to the level of motivation, the findings will show here. These are, one would be the behavioral indicators. But if you look at here, the other side here, integrative motivation, meaning to say they are very motivated. And based on these findings, it says that why are they very motivated? Because they want to use the English language to converse with their English-speaking friends, to use the English language when going abroad, and to speak more languages. Now, in terms of instrumental motivation, why are they instrumentally motivated? For them, learning the second language English gives them a competitive advantage when it comes to future employment, to meet the university's foreign language requirement, and because of the personality of their teachers, which is somewhat like enthusiastic. So overall, when it comes to motivation of the second language learning, they are very motivated. Now let's try to look at the critical thinking skills. When it comes to the cognitive skill, one of the dimensions, if you are able to take a look at here, I would like to bring you back to the definition of Cottrell. What is critical thinking? Is a way of thinking that is based on evidence, that is based on logical reasoning. So if you try to look at this one, make conclusions. Students make conclusions that is based on verifiable references and logical reasoning that is supported by evidence attached. And in addition to that, when they try to analyze information, okay, to come up with inference or hypothesis is also based on evidences. So that is in terms of their cognitive skills. Now, another one here, when it comes to their attitude, their disposition when it comes to critical thinking, except for the dimension on confidence, which is average, other dimensions like open mindset, like fairness and objectivity, and skepticism and systematicity, it's high. It's high critical thinking. So mean to say they are able to accept willingly the proven truth, even despite having different viewpoints. As they have said, when it comes to cooperative learning, there will be multiple perspectives coming from the different members. They persist in questioning established facts, and then they use a systematic, organized data when it comes to solving problems. Okay. Now, let's try to take a look at cooperative learning. When it comes to cooperative learning, they value the contributions, okay? They identify individual responsibility and accountability. They endeavor to participate in discussions and decide which behaviors to modify or continue to achieve their goals and maintain effective working relationships. So if you take a look at this one, this is the overall conceptual framework, and these are the questions being asked. Is there a significant relationship between learning motivation and critical thinking? Is there a significant relationship between learning and critical thinking, cooperative learning? I don't want to talk so much on this, but rather I would like to give you the conclusion of this study. Okay, so here, when it comes to the question on the level, let's describe what is the level of their second language motivation. Chinese ESL learners demonstrate strong motivation in acquiring English as a second language. They exhibit high critical thinking, and they display good cooperative learning skills. When it comes to the relationship, it is a strong relationship. The desire to integrate into the community, the external requirements, and their ideal self are strong motivators in fostering self-regulation in critical thinking and systematic approaches to learning. And when it comes to the relationship of cooperative learning and individual responsibility are strong indicators of enhancing critical thinking through evaluation and explanation and promoting fairness and objectivity in decision making. So for the recommendation of this study, foster curiosity in learning about diverse cultures to promote information exchange and resource sharing. And for us as facilitators of learning, we need to maintain a relaxing classroom environment to foster positive interactions between students and instructors. Promote proactive communication with instructors by exhibiting enthusiasm and approachability. And then we need to cultivate a friendly and nurturing classroom environment to appreciate the contribution of each team member. And lastly here, we encourage resource and information sharing among students for collaborative task completion, develop interpersonal skills, including conflict resolution and managing disagreements to enrich the learner's abilities. And lastly, we facilitate active participation in discussions and debates while emphasizing attentive listening and engagement with others. So that makes up the study of the findings, and here are the references. Thank you.